Today on More Than Kind, we're talking about karma in business. Hi everybody, Eric Kidwell, customer service trainer, public speaker, and founder of morethankind.com. And today we're talking about two things you may not think go together, but they do. It's karma and business, specifically related to customer service and how you relate to your customers and what you put out into the community and out into the world. I started thinking about this. I was doing a speech in Las Vegas this past weekend for a great company, Repair Shop Coach. By the way, if you own an independently operated repair shop, can't recommend them highly enough. But I was walking through the Grand Canal shops at the Venetian Hotel, and there's a store there. It's called Karma and Luck was the name of the store, and it just struck me as funny that there's a business called Karma and Luck, and to be honest, I didn't go inside the store, but I was thinking about those two concepts of karma and luck and how they apply to what we do every day. And so I thought that's a great idea for a video series. We'll talk about it in terms of business today, and then we'll do another follow-up video talking about it personally, karma, what that is. But how does it relate to business? That concept of karma, it's a Buddhist concept, but we've adapted it to mean what goes around comes around. That's sort of how we've adapted it in our secular culture. In the Buddhist culture, it's the law of moral causation. In other words, what you've done even in past lives causes what's happening to you in your current life. We just shorten that up as what goes around comes around. Now, we also have kind of a negative connotation of what goes around comes around. And that's where we've sort of taken the concept a little bit askew, because most of the things we think about when we think about karma, we think about bad karma. People do bad things are going to happen to them. But in business, it's really, we got to think about it the other way, that other side of the coin, which is the good karma. How do we promote and develop and put out into the world good karma so it comes back to us? And it's a weird business concept because some of it is just about what you put out into the universe. And those of us with business minds, we tend to think, well, that's kind of a hippy-dippy concept. Just put good stuff out into the universe and everything will be fine. And we want spreadsheets and we want data. And we want to know exactly, if I do this, then I get this business result in terms of revenue or better hiring practices or whatever it is in business I want. I want cold, hard data. Well, when I come to you today and say, karma, put good things out into the universe and good things come back, doesn't really grab us, except when you consider if you were to sell your business tomorrow, you would, right there in the valuation of your business, you would have a concept of goodwill. What's the goodwill of your business? So your good name, your reputation, those things are worth money. It's not exactly the concept of karma, but my point to you is we do take those soft concepts sometimes and we can put monetary value on them. So it shouldn't be that foreign to you to say, all right, what are my good works and what am I doing that's negative and what am I doing that's positive and how is that reflecting back on me? So today I just want to take you through 5 ways that you can make karma a part of your business plan. Hopefully good karma. So let's start with something very good, truth. Now, truth is something that hopefully every business thinks to themselves, we're going to be honest with our customers, but we all know that that's not always the case. In fact, I was associated with a company that was smaller, and they wanted the world to perceive them as being large. And so very often they would sort of encourage that perception that they were a much bigger company than they actually were. So I saw it with my own eyes several times when customers recognized that perception was not exactly reality. You could see the trust fade away. You could just see it go away and it was gone forever over that one little thing. When in fact, if they had been honest and truthful with their customers and said, hey, we're a mom and pop shop. It's just, me and a couple other people, and we're going to give you our best efforts. As that whole team, you're going to get the whole team. It would have promoted the same trust. And if they hadn't gotten the business, maybe they shouldn't have gotten the business. Maybe the two things didn't match up. It was bad karma they were putting out there. And it always came back. It always reflected back. That untruth always came back with a lack of trust from the customer. I'll contrast that with another company I was associated with that had literally one person and an assistant. And it was a businesswoman that ran this company, and she would tell everyone, it's just me. It's just me and my assistant, and we're going to give you our full attention. You're always going to be able to get me on the phone. Here's my cell phone number. And you know what? It cost her some business sometimes because people wanted to be associated with bigger companies. But when she got a client, she kept that client. And it was renewal after renewal after renewal because she had operated from a position of truth. So all of these things are about self-reflection. Are you being truthful with your customers? Are you putting good truthfulness and karma out into the universe? That will come back to you in the form of trust. So that's number one. Number two, human resources. How can we use good karma in human resources? Well, it's very much the same idea about that truthfulness, but it's also about planting seeds. So much about karma goes back to, well, it doesn't go back to because they're not tied together in Buddhism and Christianity, but it's the same concept, which is you reap what you sow. That's a karmic concept. Well, it's the same in human resources. You reap what you sow. What you invest in your employees, you get back. So I'm not just talking about in terms of benefits. I'm talking about those soft skills, belief in your employees. Those sorts of things matter. I'll give you an example. I was working for a television company that owned a bunch of television stations, and we acquired a station that had a news department. And it was in one of the smallest media markets in the country. And so the news operation was staffed, generally speaking, by kids right out of college, 22, 23 years old, their first job, getting paid a very, very low wage. My job, I was tasked to go in and sort of look at the news department and talk to all of the news team and just see where they were and see how I could improve the news operation. Well, my first conversation with every single reporter was, listen, I know you're not, like, you didn't dream of being a television reporter in the 262nd largest media market in the country. You're on to bigger and better things. I know you are, you know you are. So here's what we need to do. We need to get you to do fantastic work here and put that on tape, and I'll help you edit your resume reel to send out to other media markets. Well, when I talked to my boss about that and I said, look, this is going to be our policy, I got a little bit of pushback because it was, hey, wait a minute. You're encouraging them to leave us? We need those reporters. Well, they were going to leave anyway. So why not send them out into the world, growing them to be better? And we got great work out of them during that time instead of them just trying to get a couple of it when you literally stand up there on a live shot. That's called a stand-up. Doing their stand-up, get a couple of those on tape, and then they're off. They would put in more time. I think we got more time out of those great young reporters than a lot of people did. And many, many of them went on to do wonderful things. You can see a lot of them on television still today in major media markets or on the NFL network. Hey, Mark. And great things that they did, but all because we invested in them. By the same token, in human resources, there's been study after study after study that says if you give people a limitation on you have to get our permission if you're going to spend more than $500 on something, they tend to spend to that limit. Companies that say we don't have a limit on what you can spend for the supplies that you need, or that if you've got, we put a limit of $5,000 on it, just turn in your expense reports and go. That employees and team members actually spend less money when we trust them, when we invest good karma in them and say we are all part of one thing, and it comes back to you in savings and more engaged employees. So that's another way. In human resources, if you treat your people with good karma, they will give you good karma back. Community is the third way you can develop good karma in your business. Back to that idea of goodwill and your reputation in the community. In that same experience of mine when I was at the news station, I was in Denison, Texas, and there's a gentleman there. His name is Dale Bonner, and he runs Dale Bonner Chevrolet. And I have never, to this day, in a long career, met anyone who cared more about his community than Dale Bonner of Dale Bonner Chevrolet. I learned a lot from Dale Bonner about life and about business and about marketing and all kinds of things, and he was one of our sponsors. But he would give so many things out in the community. Well, I don't know if Dale Bonner was doing that because it was good for business or because he was just a good person. But I think it's probably both. And what was his reward? Well, his reward was he's been in business for, I don't know how long you've been in business, Dale, but it's been a while. And it's 25, 30, 40 years that has been the hallmark car dealership in that town, mostly because they provide great things to the community. Karma concept number 4 is leadership. The last two concepts are actually about reflection, outward reflection, inward reflection. And leadership is one of those things where the word reflection really matters when it comes to karma and what you're putting out there. Don't you think it's true that teams reflect their leader? Very often you can know what a leader's about just by interacting with their team. It goes all the way down to youth sports. I would always know when my kids were playing sports, and I led a lot of youth sports organizations, I could always tell how good the coach was by how their players interacted with one another and with the other team. When the players were screaming at the referee or the umpire, I always knew I got a screamer of a coach over there. That was always the case. It was always a reflection. It's the same in business. Teams reflect their leader. If the leader is dishonest or insular or quick to anger, all of those things really reflect back from their team. So if you are leading an organization, you've got to put out what you want to see back from your team. It's sort of back to that human resources point, but more in the group dynamic sense, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's another karmic concept that's not Buddhist, but it comes back around, just like everything. So lead your teams the way you want your teams to treat their customers. If you have people on the front line working directly with customers, they are representing you, and they will treat those customers, I promise you, the same way that you treat them. So concept number 5 is self-reflection. This is the hard one, and when I say self-reflection, I mean from a business perspective. Again, we'll talk in a future video about reflecting internally yourself about your personal behaviors and what you put out personally into the universe. I'm talking about business. And very often we look at things and we look at our business results and our service that we're giving and what our customers are saying about us in Yelp reviews and other ways they give us feedback, and we think, well, this is unfair. This is not fair. How come they're doing this? We're working as hard as we can and we're doing all this. Sometimes we got to take a little self-reflection and realize that karmic principle where you get back what you put out. So if you're getting back a lot of things, in terms of feedback from your customers, and it's not really matching up to what you think you're putting out in the world, you better reflect a little bit, because we do get back what we put out into the universe. We just do. That's the way it works for interpersonal relationships, but also in business relationships. So if time after time after time you're hearing, the staff here is rude, and you look around and you say, well, no, everyone here is very nice. Something is going on. Your customers are telling you, they're reflecting back to you what you're putting out. So take a moment and think about it. And when I say a moment, I mean take an hour, a week, a day, a month, and really think about what are we putting out there. And it doesn't hurt to have somebody from the outside come in and just take a look and say, what does it feel like here? We don't do that a lot in business. We don't say, what does it feel like to be involved in this business? I do a lot of work with clients where that's essentially the entire engagement. As I come in as a secret shopper, a mystery shopper, and I just kind of feel it. And it really does help when you can say, this is what it feels like to be here. You've got to reflect on that yourself to get the idea of what karmic energy are you putting out. That's what's going to come back every time. So to sum up, what goes around comes around is sort of our Americanized adaptation of karma. But in our culture, we've taken what goes around comes around to be a negative connotation, meaning you're going to get yours. Well, what goes around comes around in terms of good things too. So if you're doing good work in the community, if you're leading well, if you're treating your employees, growing their careers, if you're self-reflecting, if you're doing all those things, I promise you good things are going to come back to you. It's a pretty good bet that whatever you reflect out is what comes back to you. That's the principle of karma in business, and that's our talk for today. We have more for you at morethankind.com, and as always, we're always looking for new recruits for the secret society of nice people. You can find out all that information at morethankind.com. I'm Eric Kidwell. It's been nice talking to you. Have a great day.